So here we go again. We're going to try this thing again. Again, we're having some technical difficulties. We're trying to figure out, we're trying to sort it out. And so again, we do apologize for the inconvenience. We're doing our best to get this sorted so we can start our conversation. Yeah. Here we go.
Oh my God.
Here we go.
I am so sorry.
No, it's not you, my dear. I just don't know what's happening.
It must, I don't know. I've tried twice. The computer, I couldn't get in.
Well, listen, whatever it is, we're here now. And so um, let's go get it. um, it's so crazy that never had this issue before, but such is life sometimes. Things happen when we least expect them to happen. But here we are. Let me just. So last month we have this intelligent, caring, loving young lady with us, sharing with us what is expected of us on the job market, how to conduct ourselves, resumes, all those stuff. And so there's some things that we felt necessary for us to come back and share.
Yes.
And so L'Oreal Hunter, she's a recruiter. She's in the HR industry. She loves to help. She loves to give information, educate us, because we perish because of the lack of knowledge, right? And one of the things I've always said, L'Oreal, is that the cemetery is richer than all the banks put together. That might sound crazy, but when we think about the wealth of knowledge that died with some people that have been buried in the cemetery, it's crazy, because knowledge is not just for us, it's for us to share. And so we do appreciate you sharing the knowledge that you have acquired and still acquiring, and you just want to see people succeed. You want to see people be the best version of themselves. And so we appreciate you. And so thank you for agreeing to come on a second time. Uh,
Thanks for having me again.
yeah, well, you just made history because you're the first person to do a double dip with conversations. Oh man, and we do appreciate you. We thank you. Before we start, is there anything you would like to say? Anything?
I would like to say just thank you for having me. This is a great ministry. The work that you, your wife, your family is doing to just make sure God is at the center of their lives and also giving the information people need is such a blessing. So I'm always honored. Whenever you all ask me to do something, it's a pleasure. And I'm looking to see the where God takes us.
Yeah, yeah. Bless the Lord. And so let's just jump right in, right? I have some questions. I think we touched on them the first time. I
Mhm.
know there's some other things you wanted to share that we didn't get to share the last time, but I think it's important for us to revisit this. So there are just 5 questions, and so the first one is, as a recruiter, what what are you looking for in an applicant?
We are looking for your strong skills, but really to tell yourself about you want to make sure the recruiter know about you and know who you are. So within that, you want to make sure you have some type of leadership capability, and if you don't, just make sure you have some type of skills that goes along with that role. Being honest also is one that we talked about last
Right.
time. Being capable of doing the job and having the skills. And even if you can't, just make sure that you are teachable and you are able to learn that skill, and also be willing to learn and to adjust and have an open mind when someone is trying to teach you that skill.
Okay. Um, and I totally agree with that. Again, some of these things some people don't know, and so it's not because they might not have the skill or the experience, but it's just not knowing these little nuggets when you're in an interview speaking with a recruiter. With that being said, how important is it for an applicant to ask the recruiter questions?
It's extremely important because you want to know, first of all, not just about the job, but what you're walking into. You want to make sure you ask that manager or the individuals who are in that role that are interviewing you, what's the environment like here? What am I responsible of doing? What will be my job duties? Because sometimes the job description can be one thing that you apply to online, but they may actually want you to do several other job duties applied to that. So you want to make sure that you are clear and ask informative questions. And also, one thing people really don't ask is, how is the leadership skills? And also, why are you looking to hire for this role? Um, what I've started to actually ask, did someone leave? Did they get promoted? You kind of want to see what type of situation you are walking into. We all need to work, right, in order
Right.
to survive and live, but you also want to make sure you're not just taking a job to accept it. You also want to kind of make sure it's the right fit for you, and also the right environment that you want for yourself. What I also tell people, sometimes people look at roles based on salary or the hourly wage, but what comes with that, what is that all entails? Because sometimes when you have a certain level, when you get to a certain level and a certain salary, you also have quite a few more duties. So you want to make sure you're thinking about the role, putting every aspect into the role that you're going to accept. Is it going to be something comfortable for you? What if you have children? Are they willing to work with that? I know some roles now after the pandemic are a bit more lenient, but some are still not. So you have to take all of that into account when you are looking for a role.
So it's not just about um, the paper, the ching ching. Because no, because some people, once the numbers sound right to them, that's it. They're not concerned about anything else. And then as time progresses, they become disgruntled and blame everybody else except themselves. And so I agree. You answered one of the questions I was going to ask in terms of why are you trying to fill this position? Um, because sometimes the position is being filled not because of promotion, but because of the quick turnover. People, because of um, misunderstanding, so many different things that cause people to leave. So there's a quick turnabout in terms of the position. And so um, you would encourage people to, when there's what's the word I'm looking for, researching for a job. Um, so it means then that they should also look at the turnover of
Yes, they want to make sure you research all aspects. So even when you're asking the manager, they actually may not give you that information, because when you have a
high
high turnover,
turnover. Yeah.
they may not give you all the information. But it's also good, if you do have an interview with the company, try to see if it's some employees around
Mhm.
and kind of ask them some questions that you may have outside of just being in that direct interview. Ask some of the employees that are already workers of that company, may be able to give you additional information as far as what's going on, the turnover rate, the environment. A lot of times, I had a good friend who's actually a recruiter who had an interview last year to work in HR, and they actually brought her in for the interview, but they also gave her a tour of the company. While she was on that tour, she was able to meet people while doing the
Right.
tour. She ended up asking someone, how do you like being here? How long have you been here? And they ended up telling her it's really stressful. The employee was like, "Oh, it's a job, it's great, but it's a really stressful role." And to her, not, I don't think she thought that someone was going to actually tell her that. So she
Right.
actually started to research the company and realized it was a lot of complaints with people saying how stressful that company was. And she ended up not taking it, even though it was at her salary range and it paid her a bit more. It's, you kind of have to weigh your options out. Do I want to sacrifice, even though I'm getting paid a lot more, am I willing to sacrifice my
Right.
peace or my flexibility that I currently have, in order to be stressed out and working all the time and not having as much flexibility?
Right. I like what you just said in terms of sacrificing my peace, because
Hmm.
it's very important that you can function in your capacity in terms of your job, and that becomes so stressed that you take that at home, and then the work now filters into the home and start creating problems in your home. So I like that. Are you willing to sacrifice your peace for a few dollars more?
Mm-hmm.
And so it brings me to another question. Um, I love basketball. I watch, but it's playoff now, and my team is in a good position. But what you're talking about basketball, we're talking about the workplace and so on. But we have to understand too that even though it's a sport, it's a business. Even though they're athletes, it's their job. They have certain obligation. They have to sign contracts and so, and a lot of times this term keeps coming up: the culture, the culture, the culture of the organization. And because now basketball is a business, it's a work environment, it does it means then that we have to find about the culture of, let's say I'm in retail, working for John Benjamin Retail Corporation. And so does it mean that then I have to understand the culture of the company that I'm working for, and explain, if you can, culture in
Mm-hmm.
terms of the work environment?
I'm glad you said that because I actually had that in my notes. But I knew I was gonna forget because half the time I don't look down at the
It's
notes.
okay.
Yes, culture environment is very important no matter what field you're in, because you want to make sure you're in the right culture that aligns with your values. Now, do we get that all the time? No,
Right.
but I know for me, integrity and just certain core values align up in my for me for workplace. Now, is everyone going to be on the same page as you? Absolutely not. But you do want to find yourself in a culture environment that you kind of align with. For example, like I know my personality. I have a bubbly personality. I do like to engage with people. Now I'm 100% remote. I don't have a whole lot of engagement and interaction with people, besides me calling candidates and working with some of my other recruiter coworkers, and colleagues in the role. However, even being remote with the company with Boeing that I currently work for, they do have certain values that they follow by. Like, we have office meetings, the way our managers approach and talk to us. They're most of the time pretty respectful. And I don't have anyone prior to a job I've had before where someone is demand more of a demanding situation, and like, you better do this, and I'm like, oh, who you talking to? Like, hold on. So you do want to make sure, for me it's very important, that culture, what is the environment, what are the values, what are the principles, how are they training their workers that actually work there. Also, kind of, if you work for a larger corporation, a lot of times they'll even have different meetings about just what the world is going through at the moment. I know, I don't know if you all know, but diversity and inclusion, that's kind of trying to be weighed out,
Right.
uh, especially in Texas. However, the company I work for, we still have like monthly meetings discussing diversity and inclusion. So at some point, they do still care about, when we hire people, do what kind of slate of people do we have?
Right.
Do we have people from all ethnic backgrounds, or are we only hiring one set of people? So just in the culture, I would say culture overall, just of how the environment is, that plays a huge part for me, but for some people that may not matter to you. You may not, it's a lot of people that go to a job for a paycheck,
Right.
but at the end of the day, there are certain principles and values that I'm just not gonna settle for just because this is my job, if that makes sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense, because at the end of the day, even if um I might be a boss, um whatever level that might be, it means that I should still care about people, because I'm dealing with people. And from my experience as being a manager at one point, it helps to make people feel a part of, not apart from.
Mm-hmm.
But if you include them in certain, especially if well, I was working at one of the major hotels in Antigua. I was the security manager, and so the person I took over from, I realized, because I worked on him for a couple of months, and I saw how he dealt with us, right? And so I said to myself, because he asked me the question, if you have an opportunity to get my position, would you take it? And I said, yes. I'm not here to just stay at one place. I'm here to think. And so when I took over the department, the culture changed, if you understand what I'm saying. Um, I started to include the supervisors even more. So the supervisors would make their roster, and I would have the security guards make their roster, and then I would overlook it and then approve it and things like that. And the morale of the department rose. So everybody was wondering, now, what are you doing? Because now everybody was looking at the security department as the worst department. But now everybody's looking up to the security department. And so that is why I asked you about culture, because for me too, it is very important that there's a culture that you care about people,
Mm-hmm.
right? You care about people. Yes, they're working for you and everything, but they're still people.
Yes, I'm really glad you brought that perspective up because you're 100% right. Um a lot of the times that happens. And when you have a high turnover rate, that's most of the time it's because you have that type of culture and environment. Who wants to be in that type of culture and environment? You also want to make sure you have people around you. You said that you mentioned to him you would want to take his place one day.
Right,
We all should want to move up at some point and not be stagnant. Because
right,
if you be stagnant in your career and not ever do nothing, like, and now if you want to work that job for that same position in that same job for 20 years, you go right ahead. But at some point, you should want to be where you're able to be promoted. And it's very important that that manager who you're under gives you the opportunity of not just being promoted, if because sometimes they don't have that ability due
right,
to the company, but they should
right,
be able to give you some type of leadership training or skills to where you can either be promoted at that company or go elsewhere and bring your skills to that company. Um, but you definitely want to be under someone's leadership that's kind of molding you. And one other thing I would tell people, if you're in a role, whether it's your career where you see yourself being a long time, for example, if you want to be in recruiting or a manager or whatever field it is really good to kind of get a mentor,
right,
um, someone that could kind of guide you. Um, I've been in recruiting for a few years now, but I just asked someone to be my mentor, someone who has been with the company a long time, and they could kind of give me some pointers or leadership skills where I can meet with him monthly and we could discuss, hey, what do you need help on? What is your plan and where are you trying to go? So next year, what is the goal in
right.
place? That way you have something where you can track to kind of put you in a better situation, or a situation where you can have leadership skills or get promoted.
That makes sense. Um, there's another question I want to ask you since we talk about skills. But before I ask you this question, um, is there such a thing as in terms of asking questions, is there such a thing as a turn off question or a turn off statement coming from the applicant to you, the recruiter? Is there such a thing? If so, can you give us some examples?
That's a good question. Let me see. Yes, it's definitely questions you don't want to ask the recruiter. Like, you don't want to ask them something personal, or um I'm trying to I'm trying to think, like, how do you well, you could say, what do you feel about your job? Those are good questions. But some people can come off where they're like, they're just there. I've had candidates before where I felt like they were just all about salary. They've asked, well, if I'm here for a year, how long will it take me to get promoted? Like, those are questions I've been asked this soon. Like, you just got into the role. Like, I
Right.
need to slow down. Now you can ask, what are the expectations, or how long is there a point where we can progress or proceed to a different level? But when you come in and you're just like, how much am I gonna make? How many years will it take for me to get promoted? Like, those questions I would stay away from until you're kind of in the role or working in that
Right.
role. Ask that right up front, because it seems like, okay, the only reason they want this role is to kind of get their experience and move on. And then recruiters look at that like, oh, they're not going to be here that long.
Okay. So that segues into my next question then. So we just spoke about turn off questions or statements, and we talk about salary. What is the difference between the example you just gave and negotiating your salary?
I'm glad you brought that up. Um, So salary negotiation is something that's really important, and I wanted to speak about it. Forgot to speak about it last time, and this is not something you asked, but I want to kind of touch on it.
Right.
As American people, we do not, most of the time, we don't negotiate our salaries. It's very rare. I'm seeing, even in the when you really get into your career. And a lot of times, especially with African American women, we African American women are some of the top educated people, but still get paid the less
Yes.
in
Yeah.
their counterparts. So for salary negotiation, I've recently done a lot of research and actually have candidates who are engineers, and I've been able to see how they negotiate their salaries with the actual hiring manager.
Right.
If you're in a role, for example, and if you've been in that role for a few years and they haven't really raised your salary, I would encourage you to have a discussion, a one-on-one with your manager, explaining basically, I've been with the company this amount of years. I have this amount of experience. I have leadership skills. I'm able to communicate. I'm able to go above and beyond. I have flexibility in my schedule, because they'll ask you all of those questions. So what makes you feel that we should pay you more?
Right.
Um, if you're in a career role, I would suggest writing a letter, um, stating your responsibilities and your current duties that you have, and why you're looking for an increase. Also, go in whatever state, city that you live in, whatever job that you're currently in, look up the job. Also, you can look up salaries for that city and state. You may not have the exact salary, but you could get a roundabout information that will tell you about what the salary is. And a lot of the times, um, people of color are not making what they should make. And we need to kind of make more of a fuss about it, because you deserve to make the same wage. You deserve to make money. Okay.
Yeah, no,
So
I agree. Yeah.
I will suggest writing letters, making sure you have, this is something else I was going to get in, but transferable skills,
Right.
no matter what career it is. If you have leadership skills, if you are um, social media and computer savvy these days, you have to have it. It's no not having it. That's something that you have to have in most jobs now, no matter what career it is. So just making sure you have the skills that are needed for the role, and making sure you're getting research that career, research the job, because you can renegotiate. And if for some reason that manager go up, not just the manager, but send that email to the director. Send it to the people where you can kind of be heard. Now, I'm not telling y'all to go and get fired, but if you have those skills and those credentials, you want to give a pushback.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I'm going to give an example and then ask a question. I know this young man, and he's into technology. And so what he does, he ever so often he makes sure he research what certifications are out there, and he will go wherever it is, get the certification. So he's always being certified, being certified, being certified. Now he's working for a company where he run the tech department basically, right? They have offices, businesses in other states, and so on. And if certain things need to be done, um, he has to fly out. So how important is it, depending on what role you're in? How important is it to make sure that you keep sharpening your skills, you keep educating yourself? Because one of the things I believe, because of what you said in terms of negotiating, I can't, and this is what I believe, I don't think I can properly negotiate if I don't have an edge, if you understand what I mean. Um, how can I negotiate for a higher position, but I don't have the skill set for that position? And I think that's one of the problems that we run into, that we we don't educate ourselves. We don't continuously educating ourselves, sharpening our skills, um, and such the like. So what would you say to us in an instance like that?
You you have to at some point sharpen your skills, but you also need to know how to transfer the skills you currently have over into either a different situation, because sometimes the industry change. For example, we went through a pandemic, so a lot of individuals who was in one career and before was in a job industry, they had to do a whole 160 and go to something else they were not familiar with.
Right.
um, so having transferable skills also that can transfer into a separate industry can be really good. And that can be leadership, that can be communication, that can be knowing that you have some type of business skills or trainings or certifications. With certifications, people don't realize a lot of job sites will do different certifications. LinkedIn, if you're a regular candidate on there, they offer some type of trainings. Now, That doesn't mean that it's going to be in the field that you're looking for, but
Right.
it's always good to kind of sharpen your skills. Now, for African Americans, I would tell you, you just have to stay up on the ball game with everything, with your work, with your experience, with education. And everyone is not fit to go to college and have a 4-year degree to get a bachelor's degree.
Right.
But like I spoke about last time, there are also a lot of individuals with great experience that you can apply those to different roles. There are also great different trades and other careers. I know in this area, we have a lot of people that work for the plants, that go be operators. All those don't require degree. Even in some of our engineering roles, they have like a analysis.
Right.
So you have to do certain trainings, and you can still make a decent wage doing those different careers. So I tell people, even if you don't go to college, because there's some people that went to I'm all about education, but there are also some people that have an education, and that's not where they should be in their
Right.
career, because
Right.
sometimes go to through a like plateau. And even though you have the education, you may not have the experience. So a lot of jobs may say, oh, we need you to have this amount of experience. But if I just came out of school and I don't have that experience, how am I going to get my start? So you have to go to some of those companies that are willing to take a chance on you. But education, certifications are extremely important in the workplace. And not just that, because you can have all of that and still not get the career or job that you want. It's very, very, very valuable. And it's something I wish I would have knew in college.
Right.
Networking. Network. I have a bubbly personality now, but I used to be very, very shy at one time in my life. So I didn't connect with people like that. But I would tell you to really just network with people, because networking is actually one of the top opportunities people get in certain jobs. If you know someone, if you know a recruiter, if you know someone in that industry, if you have a mentor in that industry already, they can get you to where you need to go. So a lot of times it's about networking. Go to those job fair events. Just go to events, period. If they have a big timey professional event in Texas, New York, wherever you are, start to go
Yeah.
network with people in different industries. What kind of career, that's how you find out what type of career people are in. Oh, are you a manager? Or are you a lawyer? Or you a doctor? Because whatever field you're in, you need to connect with someone to kind of have a mentor, a guide, someone that could kind of guide you into that career.
Right. Right. Well,
Because a lot of roles, it's about who you
yeah, it
know.
is true. It is true.
So we can definitely I don't know, my phone is going crazy. I'm like, they must be watching this.
It's all right. Let them watch.
um So it's really about networking. If you can network, because to be honest, this role, I'm gonna tell you about transfer. It was all about transferable skills. I've never recruited engineers before. I work with Most of my engineers work at Kennedy Space Center. We have some based in Seattle, military base. I didn't know nothing about
Right.
engineers. Had a recruiting background, coming from customer service, the retail industry. I was able to transfer my leadership skills, my interviewing skills with a whole different industry. So you have to have some skills that can transfer over, because you never know when you have to kind of move around or take different chances. Or one good thing is take a risk. Sometimes you need to take a risk. Don't always be comfortable with what you're used to. You may have to take a risk. And I tell people all the time, just try. You never know
Yeah.
what will happen.
No, I totally agree. So you were watching conversations with Pastor James Ems and L'Oreal Hunter. We're talking about the marketplace, the job marketplace, and what is expected of us when we go into an interview and so many other things. And so you touched on network, and this thought just come to my head. You know my brain work. Um, Networking um, improves your network. It brings more value to your net worth. That makes sense?
Yes, it does.
Because sometimes we isolate ourselves and we think, hey, I'm Mr. or Mrs. Know It All. Nobody can tell me anything, and rah rah rah. And so this kind of mentality really stagnates us and keep us from improving and growing to our fullest potentials. So I like the fact that you brought up networking. And I like, because my next question for you was, because we're talking about transferable skills, and so I was going to ask upon an example, but you did give an example about what this is like with yourself, because of the background you have with even though you were in retail and everything, you were able to transfer some of those skills to what you're doing now, recruiting engineers and such the like. So when I'm ready for a job, I can hook you up, because like this. And
Yes.
oh, another question. I we touched on it the last time, but I would like us to touch it again. The tell me about yourself question. Tell me about yourself. When, as a recruiter, this question is asked, what are you really asking? Tell me about yourself.
So tell me about yourself question is not a lot of people think it's related to work. And I used to think that too when I first joined the job market, but they're really wanting you to just tell them about yourself. Like you as a person, like, oh, hi, how are you? What's your character like? Do you do things outside of work? It doesn't have to be strictly work related.
Okay.
Like I have been in management, because some people will be like, I've been in management for 5 years. I come with um a tremendous amount of experience. You don't just kind of be yourself and kind of warm up. Just explain who you are. I'm Loreal. I'm from Galveston, Texas. I've been in the industry for about 5 years. I love working in this industry because I'm able to help individuals, and it makes me feel it just gives me warm feelings and make me feel awesome when I'm able to help someone to prepare them for their career. And when they accept this role and I know I'm helping them in the career, kind of, you could say something like that, but it doesn't
Work
all have
related.
to be related.
Okay.
um this,
Okay.
this is awesome because I also like to volunteer outside of work. So this kind of correlates back with helping people.
Right.
That,
Right.
um,
So the tell me about yourself question really is getting to know you
as a
as a
person,
person, your character, so
yeah.
to speak. So like, I like music.
Hmm.
I play football, which I don't anymore. Things like that, your hobbies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I,
let
I
a strategic environment and you have a manager that's cutthroat, but most of the time it's they kind of want to know about you. You don't have to go into
Right.
details like how many kids and all that you have. You don't have to go into personal
Okay.
details. Kind of like a question, just knowing about who you are.
Okay. Okay. Um, I know sometimes when that question is asked, tell me about yourself. Um, a lot of times people would say, I'm a team player. Is that necessary?
Well, they do. They are going to want to know if you're a team player, but it's not necessary. But a lot of times they do want to know if you're a team player because are you going to be able to work in a team?
Right.
So a lot of questions. They may not ask it in the actual interview, but I know sometimes a lot of companies have assessment tests that they'll ask you, that questions they'll ask you prior to your interview. And a lot of the times they will have a question similar to that. Are you a team player or are you someone that like to be alone? Usually if you stay alone, if you're working in an environment where it's team or it's a lot of people, that's kind of negative because they want you to be able to work with the team and work with people.
Okay. Okay. Because again, I used to think, because at one point in time, as being the manager of the department, I was allowed to conduct my own interviews and so on. And sometimes when you ask people, tell me something about yourself, a lot of times it would be like, well, I have 5 kids with 4 different baby mothers.
No, we don't need
Um,
that.
um, and unnecessary stuff like that. So that is why I brought back that question to help us to understand that it's not just work related, but it's also not too personal related either.
Yes, we don't need to know how many kids you have, baby mamas, none of that. They're just kind of trying to get a feel of your personality and who you are, but personal information. And you do want to tell them about your experience in your job, but
Right,
you don't make it all about your job and you don't want to go too much into detail about your personal life
right,
either.
right. And so with that, we have come to the end of our conversation. Again,
Woo!
again, we greatly appreciate you for coming on for a second time, and it is important to have this knowledge, to get some understanding, because I like to refer to them as triplets: wisdom, knowledge, understanding. They're triplets. They come together, and so we can apply that. We need to run after them, grab onto them, make them a part of our lives, and be guided by them, because you can have knowledge, but you don't have the understanding how to apply the knowledge. And then you don't have the wisdom in and the wherewithal to know where and when to apply the knowledge. So that's why the triplets are very important. And so everything in life comes back to God. This conversation, God is all up in this conversation, because it's life. When Jesus was on the earth, he dealt with the total man. He didn't say, oh, God bless you, and let you go. You have a situation, he handled the situation, he educate you, and then he tell you, listen, go and change the way you're living, go change the way you're thinking. And so my prayer is, with the information, the wealth of information that you've shared tonight, that people will really hold on to it, apply it, and be wise with um, how they use the knowledge and stuff. And there will be a paradigm shift in terms of the workplace and how we approach interviews and things like that. And I'm happy that you were not shy to talk about um, how much of a disadvantage we are as Black people, because we are at a disadvantage because some other people think they're better than us and things like that. And so sometimes the way to change things is not by force, physical force, but is the knowledge, the
Mm-hmm.
wisdom, the understanding. And there's no force as powerful as that when we realize, hey, wisdom, knowledge, understanding come together in one, and it's accessible.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to have a degree to go get it, but we can go get it and be qualified because of it. And
Favor.
so, sorry,
I say favor is so real.
favor is so real.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer favor than $1 million,
Yes.
right? Because I
Yes.
get $1 million and I blow it, and then there's no favor. Favor, can't find favor. But when
Amen.
you have favor, there's nothing greater than God's favor, the favor of God. And
Mm.
so I couldn't end this conversation without speaking of our Father, because at the end of the day, it is His work we're doing.
Yes,
And
so true.
and He has placed us in strategically placed us in certain positions so that we can shine for Him. so,
Amen. I
so
believe.
that His glory will be seen. The word of God said, let your light so shine before men that they will see your good work.
Yeah.
Your good work. The good work is doing the will of the Father. The good work is fulfilling your purpose, the God-given purpose. And when people see that, God will always get the glory, because they want that too. They
Amen.
want that too. And so
And
again, I appreciate you.
I
May
say one more thing.
Yes,
My friend, if favor ain't fair, that's right. One more thing also, always remain humble.
yes,
In any career that you have, no matter how far you continue to move up to the ladder, you always want to remain humble and be thankful that God has put you
yes,
in that place and situation. And always, when you do make it to a certain level, to be able to help and reach back and give someone else that opportunity,
yes,
or mentor and give someone else the knowledge and skills, so we can have more people in leadership skills
yes,
and
yes,
lead, not just leadership skills in places of leadership,
yes,
rather, because we need more people, and people of color in leadership, and not just managers, in the political realm, in the judges, in the local offices, we school boards, I mean everywhere. So whatever it is, it doesn't have to be just the main
right,
careers that the school and people teach you about. There's so many different careers you need to research and get out here, where we need to be strategically placed in order to continue to move up and lift each other up. So,
yeah, yeah. And I'll add to that, people of color who fear God, who understand, hey, God has given me this opportunity, so I can't let Him down.
mm-hmm,
And so in order for me not to let Him down, I have to be humble.
mm-hmm,
And being humble doesn't mean I'm quiet.
exactly,
Because being you can be quiet, but you're worse than the devil with your
exactly.
attitude and your actions and things like that. You know,
That's
and that is something we need to really hold on to, because if you continue to ride the horse of pride, you will get knocked down to the donkey of humility.
Yep.
That's something I like to say. So humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, and He will elevate you in due season. Humility. So again, my dear daughter, I thank you. I appreciate you. Um, Continue to shine for God. Your work is not gone unnoticed, and may the favor of God continue to just overshadow you. Continue to walk in the favor of God. Continue to be who you are in God. Don't shift up for no, but anyway, you don't have the shifter, so.
Thank you so much. I truly appreciate those encouraging words.
Yes. So again, thank you. We appreciate you. After all that resistance that we got earlier on, we got the job done. We got the job done. The message is out, and so this will not return void. It will accomplish so much. We may not get reports from people, but I believe that it went out and it's doing what it's supposed to do. And so again, thank you. Continue to help people, continue to be the person that you are. And God bless you until another time.
Thank you. God bless you all as well. Love
Love
y'all.
you. And we have come to the end of conversations. And we want to thank everybody who joined us. We are so grateful for you guys. Continue to pray for us, continue to lift us up, because all we want to do is what God has called us to do. And that is to spread His word, that is to educate people, build lives, not build membership, but build lives through His word. And so until next time, Jesus, that's how we spell best friend. If you're looking for best friend, Jesus, a best friend that sticks closer than a brother. He'll never leave us nor forsake us. So until next time, Pastor James D. Elmes, out. Shalom.